Hello, and welcome to the Footy Podcast. To benefit Here's Help. Here's Help is a nonprofit comprehensive rehabilitation and educational agency that's been providing treatment services in South Florida since 1968. For more information on Here's Help or Footy's podcast, you can contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. Now, here's Footy.
Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of the Footy Podcast. I'm Ron Hersey, and Footy is away this week, so I want to thank him for the opportunity to speak with you about a number of different topics. As always, we're coming to you from the Here's Help campus, which is located in Miami Gardens, right off 27th Avenue and 151st Street. And the campus has been here since, well, at least from as far as I remember, from around 1983 when I first met Footy. And it's here for young men who are in the throes of substance abuse, and they're here looking for a helping hand, hence the name, and looking for a way to hopefully turn their lives around. Footy's, or John Cross as he is known, Footy's plan here is what's called recovery through education and a replacement life. And we've spent the last couple of podcasts reminiscing about the good old days at Y100 and all the great times that we had and all the fun we had and all the craziness that we went through. But this program originally started as a public service program at Y100. The Federal Communications Commission requires you, if you want a broadcast license, to provide a certain amount of public service programming, which is usually an hour of some type of public service programming on Sunday mornings. And when I first met Footy, that was how he got started in the Tanner in the Morning show, was by being the host of the public service program on Sunday, which evolved into the Here's Help show, which ran from around 1970 up until the pandemic. And once the pandemic hit, the folks at Y100 and the iHeart group decided to utilize that hour on Sunday mornings to educate their audience on what was going on with the coronavirus. And so we pivoted into a podcast format, which we've been doing since the pandemic started. And we've been having a good time reminiscing about the good old days. But from time to time, we like to go back to the roots of the program and give you kind of an inside look into what's going on here at Here's Help. So that's what we're going to do today. And we have as our guest
Ron.
Ron?
Yeah.
What a coincidence. Ron, don't be afraid to get up on the microphone. We had you on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, but we really didn't get a chance to get what they call a deep dive into your situation. And so we'd like to give folks kind of an idea, because the average South Floridian, the average American citizen gets up every day and goes to their job and works for 8 hours, and at 5 o'clock they go home, have dinner, fall asleep in front of the TV, and that's their whole world. And I think they're unaware of the alternative lifestyle that you've experienced, that a lot of young men experience. And I think it's important for folks to know that it exists, and it's important to educate them as to what's going on. So I appreciate you being with us and sort of sharing your experiences with us. And if there's any question that I ask you that you don't want to answer for various reasons, then feel free to just say, I don't want to answer that question, because I certainly don't want to incriminate you. I know you have some cases pending, so don't feel like you're obligated to incriminate yourself in any way.
Fair enough.
So let's get started. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Miami.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I grew up in Westchester when I was growing up with my family.
How old were you when you first, I would assume you first started experimenting with substances?
I'd say about 15.
Mm-hmm.
You know, first started smoking weed and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
Tried coke a little bit when I was 17, 16, around there. And then after that, I was pretty much I wasn't really into drugs that much until I got a little older, around 26. And then I started with the prescription pills, and that led to,
everything else.
Yeah.
So by prescription pills,
Percocets, Xanax, opiate pills.
And you first started with marijuana. How did that happen? Was it a family member, friend?
I had an older sister,
Mm-hmm.
and I would hang out with her friends. I was 15. Her friends were about 18, 19, around there. And I just wanted to try it. So I went ahead and I smoked with them.
Mm-hmm. And you decided you liked it, and so you continued, or was it something?
Yeah, I kept smoking after that. That was my main drug up until I got a little older.
Mm-hmm.
I kept smoking, on and off.
So you pretty much tried everything.
Yeah, I've tried a little bit of everything.
And so around 26, you got into prescription drugs, and
that escalated to, heroin, from heroin to fentanyl, and then I started using drugs,
Mhm.
selling drugs to use drugs, and that's what got me into the mess I'm in now.
wow, fentanyl. That's a gamble. I mean, like heroin is a gamble in and of itself, but what? I mean, a drug like fentanyl is so fatal in so many cases. What was your mindset? Were you? I mean, did you even consider the fact that every time you tried fentanyl, it might be the last time?
I have a freakishly high tolerance.
Okay.
And when I first started using heroin, they were selling me fentanyl as heroin.
Mm-hmm. And that happens a lot.
I had no idea. And mind you, I already had a strong tolerance as it was. I had a heavy tolerance. And I thought it was heroin. I started using it. It felt good.
Mm-hmm.
I've only overdosed once.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
You're lucky.
Yeah. Lucky to be here today, to be honest.
Well, you bring up an important point. One of the real dangers of street drugs is at least 50% of the time, if not more, it's never what they tell you it is.
Yeah, unfortunately nowadays you have a lot of people cutting a little bit of everything with fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
They're even cocaine. They're using fentanyl to cut cocaine. They're pressing pills, using fentanyl to press the pills, and that's why you have a lot of people dying.
And even weed, which is considered in a lot of states and by a lot of people relatively harmless, depending on where you're getting it from, it could also be laced with all kinds
Anything
of stuff.
could be laced nowadays. You never know.
Right. And fentanyl seems to be the drug of choice when it comes to lacing substances now.
I don't know why, but yeah.
Wow. Well, I guess it's probably because, from what I understand, it's relatively inexpensive, isn't it?
No.
No?
On the contrary.
Really?
Fentanyl is actually very expensive. It's one of the most expensive drugs out there. It goes for anywhere from $200-300 a gram.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
And cocaine is about
Cocaine is about
80.
to 100 now that cocaine went up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Price increase.
Price increase in the last year and a half because there was a drought when they closed the borders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
Wow. So you're...
But a kilo of fentanyl, you're looking at around $60,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so now that brings up another interesting point. And even with marijuana, folks in what we call the real world, the outside world, who may be at a party and may have a vape pen, don't understand that when there's that much cash involved, when there's, like you said, that kind of expense for something that's relatively easy to conceal and to distribute, when you've got that much cash involved, then you start. That's when the guns start, and that's when the danger gets really starts to increase, because the stakes are high. So they don't understand that what's called a trap house in the language, the lingo, is a volatile place, and you never know from one day to the next what's going to happen to you.
It's funny that you say that. I've literally been to trap houses and different areas in Overtown and stuff like that where I used to be around, and you don't be surprised if you literally see someone walking out of the trap with an AK-47 in the middle of broad daylight like it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's real out there.
And it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, the lifestyle is, there's really young people dying every day and people shooting people for nothing, pretty much.
And that's one of the reasons, I guess, why Here's Help is here, because not only are you in the throes of this abuse, but now you're in this world that's completely dangerous, and from one minute to the next, like you say, you got guys walking around with automatic weapons, and they're not concerned about concealing it or making it a secret or anything else. So it's a very volatile world. So
it's a crazy lifestyle.
And so you started out with weed. I think you said you were 15, around 26, you said, is when you started.
This is when I started dabbling with opiate prescription pills, and that escalated. It goes from Perk 10s, Roxy 30s, heroin, fentanyl, and forget about it.
And one of the real challenges in that lifestyle is, for the user, is finding the money.
Every day it's a struggle, unless you are well off, which most users aren't. And even if they are, it gets to a point where they lose it all. Mm-hmm. I've had 3 cars, a house. You lose it all. You will lose it all. I don't care what they say. Eventually you will lose it all. And yeah, it gets, some habits are $20, $30 a day. Some habits, I had a $300 habit a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you get $300 a day?
I used to sell drugs, and I would steal, and I would do anything possible, anything I needed to do just to get that money. Unfortunately, you lose sight in what's right and what's wrong, and you do anything you got to do just to get it.
And that's an interesting point, because in Hollywood and in television, when you say drug dealer to the average citizen, they think of some guy with all kinds of bling and, like you said, tons of sports cars and a big mansion, and but that's not necessarily the case.
No, you have drug dealers that are homeless. There's drug dealers sitting under the bridge in Overtown that are literally, they live in tents, and they run through $10,000 in cash a day easily. I know some of them personally.
At one time you had that lifestyle, but it was very temporary.
I lived that lifestyle after I lost my job in about 3 years ago. I went to that lifestyle. Unfortunately, it was, easy come, but as easy come, easy go. And yeah, it ended up getting me in a little bit of some legal issues. I was arrested, bonded out, ended up violating my bond. Did a couple months, cost me an extensive amount of money with lawyers. And that's what led me here, fortunately.
So in the world of substance abuse, you probably went just as deep as you could possibly go into that world. You made the decision at some point that you were going to be a dealer, and you were a heroin dealer. I mean, that's and fentanyl. I mean, that's about as far into that world as you can possibly go.
I would sell anything I can make $1 on. So cocaine, meth, fentanyl, heroin, pills, Suboxone, anything that I can make a profit on, I would sell it.
And how long did that last? How long did you?
About 2 years. About 2 years.
And so then what happened?
And then I was arrested. After that, I took a little break. I got scared. I went back to it. After I had ran through what I had saved, I went back to it, and ended up getting me locked up without a bond with some serious charges. And that's what led me here.
And so how long have you been at Here's Help now?
I'm going on 4 months. I got here February 1st.
So I would assume that the kid who's here, the young kid who is here for possession of weed, is, I'm just assuming here, would be a lot easier to buy into the program here than someone who was as deep into the program as you. So I find it fascinating that someone who went so far into that world, that you're still capable of considering recovery. And so I'm kind of wondering, when you first arrived here, and it was court ordered.
Correct.
What were your thoughts when you first got here? Were you thinking, I'm just going to, as I've heard a lot of the young guys say, I'm just going to fake it to make it. I'm going to tell everyone what they want to hear. And
well, when I first got here, I had already been sober for a couple months, and the opportunity that Here's Help gave me opened up my eyes. It gave me another chance at my freedom, at my life. So I took it very serious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as long as I complete the program and I do another 8 months of probation, drug court, they would drop my charges.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So that's why I think I take it a little more serious than maybe others would, because of the opportunity that it's also giving me. Not only am I helping myself, I'm helping my legal issues, and I have nothing to lose.
Wow.
It beats being on the street, ripping and running. So.
Yeah. That's a tremendous opportunity. Yeah. So you've been here for a few months now, and I pulled you out of the culinary class to speak with us today. And for folks who aren't familiar with Here's Help, as I mentioned when I first met Footy, this Here's Help consisted of a little building up on the corner. There was just a house.
I heard it was a trailer.
At one point a trailer, and then when I met Footy around 1983, when I first went to Y100, it was just a house. And this campus has grown to huge proportions. There's, I believe, 2 dorms.
Correct.
There's a Dade County Public School classroom to the south of us. There's this building, which houses the computer lab, the art class. Gloria and Emilio Estefan have generously donated an incredible music room next door with a couple of drum sets and guitars everywhere, keyboards, and a great music teacher. And the culinary school, which was donated by Pepe Badilla of Badilla Spices, is as professional as any kitchen. And I, as a youngster, I worked in a kitchen in a restaurant myself, and the kitchen I worked at was nothing like the kitchen that's here. It is absolutely amazing.
It's what you see on TV.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Really. And so the whole idea is a recovery through education. A lot of young men who are in this program, like yourself, started in substance abuse at an early age, and they either just quit going to school or got thrown out of school. And so one of the first things that they try to do at Here's Help is to get you your high school diploma. And then through the computer lab, there's an off-campus horticulture class where you can get your pesticide handler's license. And a lot of the food that's grown is garden to table. It's taken from the gardens and it's moved here to the kitchen where you guys in culinary actually prepare the meals. There's a whole cafeteria in there. And so there's an off-campus automotive school. So the whole idea is to give you some kind of a technical education where you can leave here
Change your lifestyle
and start that replacement life where you have a job and you're like the rest of us. You go to work 8 to 5 and you fall asleep on the couch at home after dinner at night. So I'm curious about your experiences in culinary school. Tell us what that's all about and what it is, what it means to you.
Well, it's actually fun, and believe it or not, it's some sort of it's therapeutical in a sense. We have a great teacher, Chef Tracy. She's awesome. Yeah. She's amazing. You know, you can talk to her about anything. Mm-hmm. She knows a little bit about everything. She's very smart. Mm-hmm. She's very understanding, and you can learn a lot if you take it serious. I'm gonna be taking my food manager's test this week, and with a food manager, you can go out there and you can actually start, a job making a decent salary that you can live off.
Right.
Upwards of $20 an hour just with the food manager's license. It's an accredited certificate. When you first get in, you have to get your food handler's license or certificate, which I got already. And I mean, if you take it serious, you can learn a lot.
So is that, let's talk about when you leave here. Is that something that you think you might want to do in your replacement life, work in the restaurant world, or is some other occupation you think you would rather?
Personally, I'll be honest, probably not.
Okay.
Probably not, because I enjoy cooking, but it's something that I enjoy doing like as a hobby. If I end up having to do it for work, I think it'll kill the love and kill the passion that I have for it. However, all my life I've been in the building material industry. So I used to sell building materials, I used to work on site as a project manager as well. So I might go back into the construction industry. Or I also want to look into to getting my CDL. There's a high demand for drivers right now, and they pay pretty good. And since I'm single, no kids, I think it'll be good.
So driving a truck, transportation, seeing the country.
Yeah, driving around, experiencing different things.
Mm-hmm.
It's you're not really tied down.
So you've given your future quite a great deal of thought. Is that since you've been here, or was that something you thought about in the past?
No, that's definitely not something that I've seen in
your past.
In my past,
Mm-hmm.
recently at least.
Right.
However, I've been looking into it, and I need to make a change. That lifestyle, you make a lot of money selling drugs, but it doesn't bring nothing good.
It's temporary,
and I don't want to spend the rest of my life in jail.
Right.
So
or
dead.
looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, it's not. You can't sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fun thing to do.
So let's talk a little bit about what goes on here at Here's Help. It's a very structured day. At times you have a lot of time to yourself, but at other times you have some responsibilities. So let's take it from what time you wake up.
7 o'clock. You wake up. You need to be in the house by 7:30.
And the house is?
The house is the main
building?
Yeah, the main building. We have breakfast around 7:30, and then we go back into the house. We can watch a little TV until 8:30. 8:30, we go to school. So either if you're a junior, you're in the Dade County School, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
or you're in horticulture or in culinary. Now, there's also a maintenance, but it's only for the first 2 weeks that you're into the program. In the first 2 weeks, you go to maintenance. I guess it's like a probation stage or whatnot. But yeah, after that, then you get to go to one of the classes, culinary or horticulture.
Mm-hmm.
Then from there, you're there until about 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, we go to PE for about an hour. And depending on the day of the week, we go back to the dorm, take a shower, come back out. Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays we have group therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesdays and Thursdays we don't. We just hang out until we have dinner. And then after dinner we have evening classes as well. Some students go to GED if they haven't gotten their high school diploma yet. You have art class, you have graphics class, you have music class, and you have a photo class. And then from there, you hang out after that, it's until 8 o'clock. From there, we have a snack around 8:45, take meds, and then back to the dorm.
So you talked about group counseling. There's also individual counseling.
Yes.
And how does that work?
Once a week, you go to individual counseling for about an hour with your therapist, and that's about it.
Who's your therapist?
My therapist is Anka.
And so how does that go? What do you guys talk about?
She tries to see exactly why you would use and get into the root of your problem, whether it's family issues or something traumatic that you had dealt with as a kid, or whatever your situation is. Everyone's
Mm-hmm.
situation is different.
And what have you discovered as far as what was your motivation so far?
I'm still in the process.
Uh-huh.
I have a harder time than others talking about my feelings and stuff like that. So, but I'm working on it.
Well, that's cool. So there is what we call a graduation here, and it's based on a point system.
Correct.
And so tell our viewers how the point system works.
Well, you need 120 points to complete the program. Now, if you are smart, you can get a function. I had a function. With a function, two things that are good about it. Number one, it always keeps you busy. And number two, you get an extra 2 points a week just by having the function.
Mm-hmm.
So I would wipe the tables, throw out the trash, serve the food, and I would get 2 extra points. So instead of me having to get 120 points, 4 months exactly, I'll be leaving in 3 months and a week, because I was able to beat almost 2 weeks just by getting extra points with the function.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 120 days or 120 points, there's a graduation. Everyone says a little piece of motivation, and that's it. Gone to the real world.
But you can earn points, but you can also lose points.
Yes. Fortunately, for my case, I've never lost points.
Really?
Never, not one point.
Congratulations.
Yeah. If you do what you got to do, they ask for basic things. You got to shave, keep your bed made, keep your area neat, be on time. As long as you can do that, no horse playing, you don't have no issues.
You seem to be you struck me as kind of a no-nonsense kind of person. So
I'm already 30 years old, so right. I actually turned 30 when I was in jail, early in February, yeah. But I don't have time for games, and I don't like, I'm too old for people to call my attention. That's how I feel, so.
Well, you are, to be fair, you are probably, at 30, you're probably at the upper end of the age. Most of the young people we see here are in their early teens, early 20s. So you're probably one of the older. Do the guys look up to you? Do they come to you for advice?
Some of them do, yeah.
Because I know you guys talk.
Yeah. Some of them do. Yeah, some of them do.
And what do they come to you and ask you about? That's.
They just ask me what I'm gonna do when I get out of here, and. Sometimes some of them vent about their issues, whether they have baby mama problems or, issues with their mom and they're distressed and they need to talk. Sometimes talking to a counselor is not as easy as talking to one of your peers.
Right.
So, yeah, there's been many times where, peers of mine have come up to me and, I'm having this situation or that issue. And I just try to give them a little bit of my wisdom.
Yeah. So how is that something that I don't want to say enjoy, but does it give you a certain amount of satisfaction to be able to share with these younger men some of your experience? Yeah,
I guess sometimes I wish if I was their age, I had someone older like me that has been through a lot to be able to tell them, hey, stay out of trouble, don't do this, don't do that. So yeah. Sometimes I wish, and I wish I had, an older brother figure to be able to guide me in the right direction. So yeah.
Right. Well, Ron, I want to thank you. When you first came on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, I really wanted to get more in depth into your experience, and we didn't really get a chance to. So I appreciate that you let me drag you out of culinary today to come talk with us. And I also appreciate the fact that and even as you mentioned, you find it sometimes uncomfortable to talk about your past and your experiences. So I appreciate the fact that you were able to sit with us today and open up. And I hope that the folks watching the podcast maybe have gotten a little more education into what's going on in that alternate universe here in South Florida and around the country, and what's going on in the lives of a lot of young men like yourself. And as we said, you probably went a lot deeper into the substance world than most people would. So it's pretty amazing to sit and talk with you, knowing the kind of life that you've led, and at your age, 30, and the fact that you even turned 30, that's a huge milestone in a life. To have turned 30 behind bars, I'm sure was something that probably was not a very pleasant.
Wasn't fun. Wasn't what I had in mind.
Right. So I really appreciate you being on with us and sharing your experiences out in the world and in the worlds of substance abuse, and also talking to us about your experiences here at Here's Help. And I just want to encourage you to continue with your mindset. You've got your head in the right place. Your mind is in the right categories, so to speak. And so I feel confident that I think you're going to be able to walk out of here with your head held high and a clear vision as to what the rest of your future should be like. And I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you.
So thank you for being with us.
All right, thanks.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Have you been introduced to Footy Sauce? Footy Sauce makes it easy to give ordinary chicken wings extraordinary flavor. Footy Wing Sauce is made with a perfect blend of herbs and spices. So what are you waiting for? Pour it on. Footy's Wing Sauce guarantees you a better tasting chicken wing every single time. When you fire up the grill, pour it on. Let Footy be your wingman. Kick your next party up a notch with Footy Sauce. Grab Footy's wing sauce and pour it on.
We are back. I want to thank Ron one more time for being with us on the Here's Help show and letting us deep dive into your past, and wish you again all the best of luck. We thank you all for subscribing to our podcast and for the views. We get quite a few views, and the views are increasing each and every week. Our subscriptions are starting to grow, and make sure if you haven't subscribed that you do so. Click on the little bell on the screen, and this way we can notify you of future podcasts when they are available. Please feel free to share our podcast on social media. The more exposure we get, the better it is. And if Footy were here, he would want me to absolutely encourage you to go to Publix. And if you can't find Footy Sauce at Publix, make sure you ask for the manager and tell him that you want Footy Sauce on the shelves. Every penny that you spend on Footy Sauce goes right here to Here's Help. It goes to all the great programs. It goes to the maintenance of the buildings and helping to get these young men back on the right track and help them embrace a replacement life and get back on their feet and become productive members of society. So thank you for viewing and sharing and subscribing, and thank you for supporting our podcast. And thank you again, Ron, for being with us. And we will have another podcast. We'll alert you soon. So thanks again for watching.
Thank you for listening to the Footy Podcast. To benefit, Here's Help. For more information about the Footy Podcast or Here's Help, contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. The executive producer of the Footy Podcast is Sam Zacco, COO of Here's Help.